This is Omar for BoxNation. We're both back in London after one of the most incredible, one of the most hectic, stressful fight weeks I can remember. But it was billed as the fight card of the century, and it did live up to it, especially the main event. How do you look back at the weekend, Frank?
It was brilliant. I mean, despite all the ups and downs of it. I mean, it's the end result, and on the night, it was a brilliant show. I mean, unbelievable show, and that main event was a privilege. It was a privilege to watch it. What a fantastic fight!
For sure. We're going to go through the whole card. Obviously, some of the fights you had a lot of interest in. Some you were sitting there as a neutral, just enjoying it and soaking it up. So the first one, you were a neutral. Callum Smith and Joshua Buatsi. He certainly delivered. Buatsi went into it as a favourite, but took his first loss. How did you see Callum's win that night?
I thought he won the fight. I thought it was a great fight to watch. I think that as far as Josh concerned, I mean, he showed tremendous heart and courage. There was a couple of moments in the fight where you thought he was flagging, and he dug deep. Obviously, Callum boxed extremely well. And he's a very, very, very experienced and talented fighter, and used a lot of his ring craft. And unfortunately, got that bad cut. But what a fight for the fans! Unbelievable fight.
Yeah, it certainly was. Um, I know Anthony Yard's got his fight at Tottenham with Lyndon after the trilogy, but what we were looking forward towards was a fight between Yard and Buatsi. Um, After Buatsi takes that loss, where does that put things?
Well, I think right now is, first of all, I don't want to count any chickens. That Anthony's got to get through his fight first of all with Lyndon. You know, I look at the fight with Tyson. That first fight with Tyson with Wilder, what a close fight that was. And then the second time, oh, I thought he won it, but it was a close fight. The second one, he done a job on him and expected that to happen the second time, and it did. And it turned out to be an amazing battle. And I think I just hope that's not the case. I hope that that Anthony comes through the fight, and if he does, the natural fight is the winner. Is the winner of the fight is for Callum to fight him, I think, and Josh come back and he can get back in the mix. He showed what he's all. He showed tremendous courage in that fight.
Well, look, I know he's fought Willie Hutchinson, but maybe you could do a rematch. There's Ezra Taylor you've got as well for maybe Buatsi.
It's an excellent division. Again, it's a brilliant division with some great domestic fights to be made there, and we'll make sure they happen.
The
Excuse me.
next fight on the card, you had interest in both fighters with Zhilei Zhang and Agit Kabayel. Agit Kabayel was sensational, I thought, again.
Look, I've said previously when interviews we've done, I like him. I think he's an excellent boxer. He's got a good boxing brain. He's got fast hands, puts great combinations together. And he had to dig deep especially when he got clipped by Big Bang. He got clipped, but he got off the floor and he showed what it was all about. And for Big Bang, I think, it's been a privilege to be involved with and promote. He's such a lovely guy, and it's a shame when you got two guys on there. Obviously, you get a winner and a loser, but from his perspective, I think his age caught up with him on the night, and we'll see what I want to sit down with his people, the Lang brothers, who are just you know unbelievably nice people, really good people to work with, and see what we can do. And as for Guardian Ajit, he's going to get himself in some seriously big fights now. He announced himself on the well stage, I think, for that fight.
Yeah, he certainly did. We know Zhilei Zhang is a monster early on. He's very, very dangerous. We saw him drop Cabe. I think he's dropped nearly everyone he's been in the ring with, Zhang. The consensus is it's when it goes past the halfway mark, he's not the same fighter. There is validity to that argument, what we saw on Saturday night. Do you think at the elite level, considering what I've just said, once it goes past six, Zhang may have to look at if he does call it a day, Frank?
Well, it's going to be his choice. As I say, it was 41 years of age. He's no youngster, and we will see. He's if he wants to retire, I say this all the time. They want to retire. If any boxer wants to retire, we support them wholeheartedly. If they want to fight on, we consider the situation, and it depends who the opponents are. Um, for me, he's been brilliant, as I say, to work with, and let's just see how it all develops over the next few months.
Okay. In terms of Agit Kabayel, he's in a Very, very good position.
Let me tell you, he's a bloody good heavyweight. He is a danger man.
He's WBC mandatory as well, so he's coming for.
He's a danger man. I'm telling you, he's a danger man. Don't worry about that. He can fight.
He's coming for at the moment who holds the belt, Alexander Usyk. We don't know who's going to hold the belt when he does get his title shot at the WBC. But with Agit, I hear you on. You recently signed him. I know Spencer Brown manages him well, so you must be delighted to have him on board, Kabayel.
Yeah, he's a good addition to the heavyweight scene for us. And we got we got quite an array of the top guys under the Queensberry banner, and he's one in there. And I tell you what, he's in the top echelons of them all.
Next, you were neutral again. Vergil Ortiz Jr. took on Israil Madrimov. This was a very, very tough fight to predict. Vergil Ortiz Jr. did superb. He pushed Madrimov back all night, and I thought he was excellent.
He was. I've got to be honest. I thought there might be an upset in that fight. I really did, and I like Madrimov. I think he done it brilliantly against Crawford, and I thought that was quite a close fight. But he did it. He dug deep, Ortiz, and done what he had to do, and it was it was the right decision.
Yeah. No, you definitely weren't a neutral for this. Your heart and soul was in this one when Hamzah Sheeraz fought for the WBC world title against Carlos Adames. I said to you straight after, I said to you, look, I like Hamzah. I've known him his whole career, but I thought he lost that fight. He did get the draw that night. Looking back at it, Frank, I don't know if you've watched it. Have you changed your mind? Do you think Hamzah lost that fight?
He was lucky to get the draw. But he got it. And I'm not going to complain about that for obvious reasons. But he was lucky to get it. Had a hand problem in the fight. That was not the Hamzah that we've normally seen. I mean, he just didn't seem to get going. I don't know if there's I'm supposed to have met him today, but I had to cancel out and see him tomorrow. And we're going to have a discussion what we're doing moving forward. Whether the weight is a factor, making the weights. He's a big guy. Look at the size of him. But it's experience. He's only a young man. It's experience for him, and he's and I believe he showed he's there at world level. On another night, he would have won that fight. Maybe with a hand injury, but it is what it is. You can't change it, and what he's got to do is come back now, learn from it, and show everybody what he's about. He didn't get knocked out. He didn't get destroyed or anything. It was it was a very kingly and closely fought fight. But he could. I know there's more in him than that.
Yeah, I think there were positives. I mean, the shots he did take clean. He actually didn't seem phased at all, and he had been hurt previously by Ammo Williams, so it was good to see him at world level. Adames as a vicious puncher. He didn't seem budged, as you said. He didn't seem out of depth, out of league. But his offensive work, which is normally so dangerous and so good, and that's what we know Hamzah Sheeraz for, didn't really seem to catch fire.
No, his punches are normally much crisper than that. When he's throwing his shots, they're much more, emphatic. More power behind him. And, that as you said, I see when he took his glove off, he showed me his hand. In the ring, showed me his hand. It was all swollen and busted up. But that's the thing what happens with boxers. And that's it. And if you bang your hand up, that can affect it. And I don't want to take any away from Adames. Adames fought a really extremely good fight. It was a good fight to watch. But in my heart, I do believe he could have won that fight had maybe his hand not been hampered by the injury, and but it is what it is, and he lives to fight another day.
Frank, I heard on the night that he'd broken his hand in 3 places. Is that correct?
I don't know. They had an MRI scan when they got back, they got back on the Monday, and I think that was booked. And he had that this morning, and as I just said, I was supposed to meet him. That didn't happen, and we're meeting now tomorrow. So I'll know. I can update you tomorrow on that.
Okay, and I think it was in the 4th or 5th, right? His left hand went.
That's what I was told. All I'm doing is what I was relaying on the night is what I was told in the ring. Now I don't know what round he went. You could look and see that he wasn't doing what he should be doing, and that was obviously because of the injury. But they showed me his hand in there after the fight. You never knew, I never knew until he took his glove off and he showed, and showed the hand, which was very, very swollen.
I thought the 11th round was very good for him.
Well, I went round to the corner. Excuse me. I think it's in about the 10th round, beginning of the 10th round. And I said, I shouldn't do it, but I'll get too involved. And I ran round the corner. I just said to him, you've got to win these next 3 rounds. You don't win them, you're going to get beat. And he had a couple of really good rounds.
Yeah, he did. His Excellency did the same thing.
Yeah. But he's right. That was the thing. I'm sure a corner would tell him that anyway. But that's what he needed to. That's what he needed to do, and he went out and responded. But he should have done that earlier. But then again, he's hampered by the injury.
Yeah. Right. You mentioned potentially next going up to super middleweight. He did look tight on the way at the week, I have to say, in his face.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, when you're making weight, and sometimes it's difficult making weight. That can affect your performance. It can affect your performance. It does affect your performance. But I don't know whether that's he mentioned after me that he was struggling a bit. He felt he was struggling with the weight, and we'll see when I speak to him about it, and we'll see what we go through it all. But he's a young talent, and and I believe, and I like I say, a loss or a draw is not the end of the world. He never got the shit beat out of him, that's for sure.
No. If it is at super middleweight or if he has one more at middleweight, whatever it is, how do you bring him back at what level, Frank?
He's got to come back at a good level. He's not he's a young man. He's a young man. He's a very ambitious young man. He's a he's very he's very ambitious, and he won't he wants to achieve his aims and his goals. I mean, there's a lot of talk, and that's the problem sometimes, and we're all guilty of it. Is when we when Canelo's done the deal for with HE for Riyadh season fights and so forth. One of the names, and the names that we all wanted, I certainly wanted to see, was one of the names was Hamzah. So if he wants to get back into that, one, he's got to be able to make the weight, which is most important, and secondly, he's got to get on it, got to get a couple of good wins under his belt.
Well, look, we know Canelo Alvarez has got his undisputed defense against Skull, which is a Riyadh season card in May. Um, then he is going into a Terence Crawford fight in September. So the belts at super middleweight are going to get fragmented. So, if Hamza has a couple of fights at super middleweight, he could pick up a vacant world title, Frank. That could be the route for you guys.
Well, we look at the options like we always do, and then make them work out, or try and make the fight that we feel he'll win.
Hmm. But you think he'll look back at this first world title shot one day with hopefully when he's retired with plenty of world titles and money and see it as a good
I
learning
think it,
experience.
I think he's got to look at it that way because there's no other way to look at it. He was lucky to come through it with the draw, and that sometimes you have to have a bit of luck in life, and that's it. But even if it had gone, even if the judges have seen it a different way, the fact of the matter is, they're fights that you learn from.
Yeah.
You learn from, and you should get confidence from fights like that because you're there. You could have done something else, without the injury, maybe whatever it was, maybe it would have turned out a more emphatic win for him if that had been the case. But whatever it is, you learn from it. And the one thing about Hamzah, he's a smart guy, and he absorbs knowledge.
Well, I spoke to Carlos Dames straight after, and he's got no reason to lie. And as we both said, it wasn't anywhere near Hamza's best work that we've seen. And even Carlos Adames said to me, "Look, he's a good fighter and he's got very good potential." So that's encouraging.
That's great. That's what we want to hear. Maybe we're doing a rematch.
Okay. Well, let's see if he stays at middleweight or goes up to super middle.
We will.
Right. Okay. Next, we had no interest for you in this one. Shakur Stevenson against Josh Padley, our hero, everyone's hero, Josh Padley.
Our hero. Yeah.
Remarkable story on Tuesday of the fight week. He was doing his usual stuff in England, being an electrician, then gets the call up, flies to Riyadh on Wednesday and fights one of the biggest stars in boxing, Shakur Stevenson, and unbelievably gave a really good account of himself.
He did, and he did. The thing about coming in as a last minute fighter is it's tough. But the good thing, you only had to look at him. You look at him, you could see he was fit and well. He's one of those guys. He's in the gym, he's training, he's well, and obviously his connections were very comfortable in putting him in there for the opportunity and for the purse he was getting. He was always an underdog in the fight, but I thought he'd done far better than I expected him to. I really do believe that. He showed a lot of courage, a lot of commitment. He wasn't phased. He had his own confidence and self belief, and it was unlucky. The body shots done him at the end, and Shakur Stevenson. He's a smart boxer, but he made a very, very big. He got a very big purse for the fight, and he said after, "I'm now down to go and buy and pay for my house with no mortgage."
That's great.
Isn't that a great story? Isn't that great for him? It's fabulous. He's got the opportunity. He's doing whatever he was doing, putting his solar panels in on a Wednesday. He gets the call. Parks his van up at the airport, he told me, and meets everybody at the airport, flies over, and he's in that fight on that card and gave a magnificent account. And I tell you what, didn't the crowd appreciate him?
Definitely. Yeah.
And to all those people about atmosphere, what was the atmosphere like in there? I
Cracking
thought I
up.
was in England or in Britain,
Great. It was really,
wasn't it?
that arena's brilliant, to be fair. Very good.
That's not the arena, it's the fact that people are going now. They're taking their fans there as well as the locals. There's now people going out to watch their heroes and following their fighters. It was brilliant. The atmosphere was fabulous.
It certainly was. Just before we talk a little bit more about Stevenson Padley, I know it wasn't your fighter in Floyd Schofield. He's Oscar De La Hoya's fighter. Now you've had a bit of time to digest. I've not seen anything that bizarre on a fight week in sport, actually. Some of the things that were happening, some of the things he was saying. Then he goes to hospital.
Look, at the end of the day, he's a fucking nut job, wasn't he? Been drugged, cars have been, tires have been. These are the stories I'm hearing. I don't know whether they're true or not, or if they came from him or not. But tires have been slashed and all these. It's just garbage. It was nuts, and he wasn't well. And you're looking at him in the hospital. He's got all tubes up his nose. So how can he fight? It's done, dusted, and stop all these conspiracy theorists. It's all the time the conspiracy. What do they think that people get flown in from around the world? All the costs involved to bring them there, and then all the costs involved to find another opponent. What are nut jobs? These people fly them to press conferences, bringing them over from America to London. Everybody coming over. It's just mad. Was it somebody rubbed some drugs in his arms? I'm hearing all this stuff at the time, and I thought, I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm not going to say nothing, but what a pile of garbage.
It was very confusing what was going on in the first couple of days in Riyadh, but yeah, we'll leave that one there. In terms of Josh Padley, right, he's beaten obviously Mark Chamberlain at Wembley Stadium on 3 days' notice. He's given a good account of himself, very good account of himself against one of the best pound for pound fighters out there, in Shakur Stevenson. Are you going to look to do something with Josh Padley, Frank?
Well, he's not with me, is he? He's not with us as promoters, but I'd love to do something with him.
I believe he's a free agent, isn't he? Josh Padley.
I'm not sure. If he's a free agent, he won't be for long because he can come and see us and we'll do a deal with him. But I liked him. I like him. I think he's got a real, it was a good story. It was a good story, and as I say, although he got beat, there's a nice outcome for him. That his family and him have got a nice home. They're going to go buy a new nice home together. How good is that? You've got the money in the bank to go out, say to the missus, "Come on, darling, we haven't got to worry about a mortgage now. Let's go and do what we got to do." That's brilliant. Good luck to him.
And in terms of Shakur, he's received a tremendous amount of backlash for his performance. The fight, I think, was amazing, to be fair, but yeah.
He was going, I can see that. People like the underdog, don't they? Especially one who's got a bit of guts and a bit something about him. And they got behind him. And Shakur, Shakur did what he had to do. He had done what he had to do.
Yeah. Right, you definitely had interest in this one. Joseph Parker, your guy, wiping out Martin Bakole. Before we get onto that, if you thought the start of the week was bizarre, then it just got, Even more crazy out there. Thursday, quite late in the evening, we learnt about Daniel Dubois. Uh, was being checked out by doctors, Saudi doctors. The British Border Control also checked him out.
So let me tell you what
Go on.
there's all these, again, all this bullshit that comes out and whatever. So the fact of the matter was, he's had it in a couple of fights where he gets problems with his throat just before the fight. Don't know what it is. Maybe he's going to see a specialist. Maybe he's got to have his tonsils out. I don't know. But he's had a couple of problems, and as a result of that, he had the same thing happening. It was dry. It was dry out there, and he had a couple of late nights as well. And you know what it's like out there. A lot of people came back after Christmas and were not. I mean, including myself. A lot of people weren't well, but he was struggling a bit. So what we did was we got a Saudi doctor. We asked seller people, can you get a doctor to go and see him? Because I thought maybe he'd get something for his throat, rest up overnight, don't make any decisions. Let's see what happens overnight, and he'd be okay. And at that stage, everybody felt he was going to fight. And they prescribed some antihistamine and antibiotics for him. That's what was prescribed. So he got those, and when he got them, I said, don't take anything until we make sure that none of the ingredients are of the medication are on the ban list. So we've done a VADA check, and not as a couple of people said, ask VADA. We didn't ask VADA or anything. We just you go online. VADA have got a list of bans. You type the drug, the drug in, and it tells you whether it's banned or not. So that's what we did, and we contacted the Border Control to make sure who are the officiate the events there, to ensure that we're not, we don't want to, God forbid, if he did fight, that any of this stuff would come back as a positive test, which I've had from a boxer in the past who took an over-the-counter medication and wound up getting banned for 6 months as a result of it. So that's what we did. On notifying the board, they then asked that their Chief Medical Officer, Neil Scott, who is the Chief Medical Officer of the Border Control, he's also the Clinical Director of NAS Medical, a specialist in ringside medical care. He's a very, very well-respected doctor. He went to Daniel's hotel to examine him himself, and he was feeling drowsy. And on examination, he found that he had painful, swollen glands, bilateral tympanic membrane, very bad inflammation, visible. He'd done a visible oropharyngeal, I can't even pronounce it right, examination. We showed a lot of inflammation and redness, and he checked his neck for bilateral levels of lymphadenopathy. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing
anyways, he was
this correctly. Yeah. Which was anyway. The diagnosis was a viral infection. He immediately said he's not fit to box. And he told him not to take any of the medication prescribed by the doctor. There's no criticism of the local doctor, by the way. That's where and he re-prescribed something else for him. But he's the Border Control doctor, so he's examined him, and you're out. Daniel, up until then, wanted to fight, but it was deteriorating. His father didn't want him to fight. Get that? He's his dad. And I'm telling you, out of anybody, anything, if he weren't 100%, I don't want him to fight. I don't want to be saying after the fight, he's got a hand injury, he's got this happened to him, that happened to him. You go into a fight, you've got to be 100%. Excuses after the event mean, that, especially if you're going in injured, mean nothing. So the bottom line of it is the Border Control doctor said he was unfit to fight. That's the end of it. It's no conspiracy. I'm not going to tell you the amount, but it was amazing, mega money he was getting paid for that fight. He's trained his balls off for it. He's incurred the cost of a major training camp, sparring partners, flying them in from around the world, putting them up in hotels, feeding them, all the stuff that goes with it. It's expensive exercise, all of it, and it's unrecoverable. You cannot recoup that money. So the fight was off. And that was it. That is the bottom line of it. And Daniel will live to fight another day. And I don't care. I really don't care what anybody says. If you're injured, you don't fight. And if somebody thinks that something's wrong, you've got a viral infection, it's affecting all your your eardrums and everything. You got all of. You think you're getting punched in the head. You think that's gonna. I'm going to allow that to happen. The border control, the doctor wouldn't allow it to happen, and I'm certainly not going to let it happen. And for Joe Parker, there was two choices. There was postpone the fight, or as he said, he wanted to fight. He's trained hard and he wanted to fight, and I get that.
Okay. So where does this leave things now with Daniel Dubois, Frank?
Daniel Dubois is the IBF world champion. That was a voluntary defense. It wasn't that's what it was. And Daniel now, I'll meet with him next week. And when I meet him next week, we'll make a decision as to what direction we're going into. Usyk people are out there. I sat down with, always very briefly spoke with Krasik, and we spoke to Aegis, and they want to do that fight. And why wouldn't we want to do that fight? 4 belts on the line, all of the controversy from the last fight, all what went down, the fact that Daniel since then, who's never ducked anyone in a fight, look at the fights that he's had, the opponents he's fought, where he's gone in as an underdog with all of them. He wants that fight. That was what this fight was all about, to get this, because he was not going to be fighting until late summer, autumn, Usyk. So that's why Daniel was fighting. While we took the fight against Joe Parker, who's with us, by the way.
Yeah,
he's a great guy and we love him. But that's the truth of what happened. So now they're now saying they want the fight. So we'll see. Also, AJ said he wants to fight. So there's options there for him.
AJ wants to fight. What, a rematch with Dubois?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So there's options there.
Yeah.
And we will work it out, and we'll do the right thing. We do the right thing. That's what we do. And there's some great fights here. But please, come on, Daniel Dubois, the most active heavyweight in over the last 13, 14 months, the most active heavyweight and look at his opponents that he's fought. Look at them all. And so why anybody can say about he's scared or he's all this nonsense that goes down is just beyond me. There, it's pathetic.
Right, so you've been a tricky, not a tricky spot, a very good spot, but Usyk, the unified champion, is calling out Daniel Dubois for an undisputed clash. That to me screams out the one to make next. I know His Excellency says he wants to do that fight as well, but then you've got the option of an AJ rematch. There's loads there.
So there's options there. Yeah, we'll see. Now
Joe Parker has beaten. He's on the run of Wilder, Zhang, Bakole. Can you guarantee him a shot next after, let's say, Dubois and Usyk fight? Is he going to be next?
Yeah. He's got to get his shot. Of course he'll get his shot. We're not stopping him. He's with us. He's signed with us. We've done, he's worked. He's those fights that he had were all fights against our fighters.
So Joe Parker now, in the
it was a great performance that he had. He'd done what he had to do.
But in the meanwhile, Joe, do you think he has one more fight before he gets a world title shot?
I don't know yet. We've got we're not. He's not going to be inactive. Of course, he wants to fight. Of course, he'll be in something. But we'll sit down and we'll discuss it rationally, and none of these conversations are taking place yet. But they will do. And everybody would be vying, the managers will all want to do the best they can for their fighters. And we'll be trying to do the best thing for everybody to give a path for everyone to somehow get it all on. At least these fights are happening. We're making them happen.
Martin Bakole then, flew in from the Congo to Riyadh, which is a long old journey. He got in on the morning of the fight day, 24 hours before he was going to get in the ring, probably even less. I was hearing people like on TalkSport, even people in Riyadh within boxing saying, "Oh, this actually might be a tougher fight than Daniel Dubois for Joseph Parker." It obviously didn't turn out to be. What did you make of it all?
Look, first of all, I did an interview I think it was with you, and I said immediately after the fight, with the greatest and greatest respect to him, and it is the greatest respect to him, for a guy to come and take a fight at that short notice says a lot about Martin Bakole. He's a warrior, and I appreciate all what he'd done. I appreciated him coming there. But I'm just telling you how it is, the truth, how I see it, which some people may not agree with. I didn't. I said to you, I think that Joe would knock him out. I told you that, and I felt that would be the case.
But do you think he'd knock him out on an 8-week camp like that?
Well, let me tell you what we were. I'm not his promoter. I'm not Bacole's promoter, and I'm not his manager. The fight we was trying to make was against Bakole. He was in Dubai, so he's an hour away on a flight. That's the fight. But the fight was made between him and Bakole. I didn't make that fight. Bacole's connections, his promoter and his manager, and everybody, whoever else is involved, they took the fight. They said, from what I'm told, he was training. He was in camp. They knew what they were going into. They were going in to fight a guy who trained his balls off to fight Daniel Dubois, who was in good shape, had a good camp and working. So no one's blindfolded them. It's not like you don't know what you're doing and whatever. They knew what they were getting into. And that was their choice. He had a final eliminator for Daniel's title, which had he won, which I think he may have won that fight, had he won the fight, which was coming up in, I think it was in New York.
May, yeah.
Had he won that fight, had he won that fight, he would have been the mandatory he would have been in the mix to fight Daniel. So that's where it would have been. So he decided, or him and all of them decided they would go for this fight. And if you win it, great, you got options. But if you lose it, you're out of your IBF eliminator. And that's what's happened. So would I have done that? Of course I wouldn't have done it. But I thank him for what he did and coming in and the bravery he showed. And he's a lovely guy. I mean, I've not really had a couple of times I spoke to him. I don't know him that well. He's a lovely, is what I see him. He's a nice fella. And God bless him. He's brave. But I didn't put him in there. I didn't volunteer him. He's not my fighter. He fought my fighter. He fought a Queensberry fighter. So at the end of the day, I'm pleased what happened. Because we're in the business of delivering the best for our fight. Was it dangerous for him and whatever? That's not my concern. That is not my concern. That's up to the boxing board of control. They passed him fit to fight. They rubber stamped the match. The IBF rubber stamped the match. So that's how it is.
He said to me, like, he must have, he see that interview that we did. He said you were being harsh on him, that he came in 24 hours notice, 48 hours notice, saved the show.
How harsh have I just explained? How harsh is it? I didn't put him in the fight. It wasn't me who put him in that fight. If anybody was harsh, it was the people who put him in the fight. And by the way, I take my hat off to him. He's got himself a major big purse for it to do what he did. Brave, but that's what fighters are. Fighters are brave. And fighters sometimes need a bit of advice, and sometimes the fighters should look to the people who put him in that position. But the other side of it, you look at his bank balance and they'd be happy with it.
Yeah, 10 houses in the Congo, he said he could buy.
Well, whatever it is, good luck to him, and God bless him. And to do that, he deserves 20 houses in the Congo, as I say. But come on, let's all start being grown up here and saying how it is. And the facts of the matter is, if you give up a final eliminator for the title to go and do that at 24 hours notice and whatever, you're a brave boxer. You deserve to get all the money you get and more. You deserve everything, every part of that.
Yeah.
But would I have done that with him when he was in that position? Never in a million years. Yeah. Never in a million years.
Frank, but just we are going to speak about the rematch between Beterbiev and Bivol, but this Zoom's just going to end. I'm not cutting anything for people who might think, so just going to end this and resend you a new link just to close off the interview, all right?
Okay.
Just picking that back up. Whilst that actually went, I had an idea for you. Might disagree, might agree, I don't know. Joe Parker, we said in the interim, he's a fighter, you want to stay busy, you want to keep him busy. You've got Dillian White v Joe Joyce coming up on April 5th. Now he's lost to both these guys. What about a potential rematch with either of them? It's a big fight.
Yeah, there's lots of fights that be done, and that's a good thought. That's what's so great about this heavyweight division. There's a stack of great fights to be made and to be seen.
Yeah. Um, a lot of people are so happy for him as well because he's had this incredible resurgence, and I've not heard of one person in the sport in 10, 15 years, how longer he's been in it, say a bad word about Joe Parker. He's a very light guy.
Joe's a lovely guy. He's a really nice guy. You know, fabulous guy, and he's good fun.
And he's a dangerous fighter now as well.
Oh, he's done what he's had to do, and he showed. I mean, we know he's got power and whatever, and he done a fabulous job there. He done a great job against old Martin. And Martin, as I say, I'm going to emphasise it again. No, I am not criticising Martin at all. I think for him to come in at such a late moment, late substitute, and do what he did, and fly two continents is says a lot about him as a person, and I hope he enjoys those 20 houses that he's buying in the Congo.
With the fact now, with Dubois, Parker, Kabayel all under your umbrella, either world champion in Dubois or guys waiting there for a world title shot, do you believe out the top four, you've got the second, third, and fourth best heavyweights in the world?
I think we have, and I think in the top 10 division, there's probably at least 8 of those are also with us.
Because in my mind, it probably goes now Usyk, Dubois, Parker, Kabayel as a top four.
Yeah, there you go, and then you've got Fabio in there. I mean, you go all the way
Lawrence,
through.
Moses,
It's we're blessed with heavyweights.
Yeah, Lawrence told me that his bags were packed in Dubai and he was looking to fly to Riyadh.
I'll be honest with you, at one stage I thought that fight was made. At one stage. But Joe, to his credit, Joe and his team said they wanted to fight Bakole.
Frank, David Adelaide also trains in Dubai. Was he contacted about that fight?
He was on the list, but obviously they were looking for somebody who was more of a name at this stage of their careers.
Yeah. Okay, just to close off, and it's right that we close off this way because we were both sat there like the thousands in the arena and the millions watching across the world, witnessing. Look, there's no one better to ask than you. You've been in the sport 40 years. I thought that was one of the best fights, if not the best fight I've ever seen. Where does it rank for you?
Well, it was a privilege to be there. The fight was. I felt, when we spoke to it, I felt that I said that I felt that, but I fancied Beterbiev to win this time, and I felt that the first round would be like the 13th round of the last fight, in as much that Beterbiev, in the latter stages of the first fight, got really into it, and on top of it, and I thought he'd go and try and put it on Bivol and really, really, put him under the cosh, which is what he did. I mean, I thought he lost the first round, but then after that, I thought he started winning the rounds. But Bivol is something else. I mean, he's got a great boxing brain, and I think as the fight went on, and as the fight on, Bivol seemed to get back into the fight. At one stage, I thought that it was all going to be Beterbiev, but he got back into the fight, Bivol, and he started controlling him, boxing extremely well. And it was just an absorbing, fantastic fight. You couldn't take your eyes off it. The two guys are the best of this century, without a doubt. Two unbelievable fighters, and both of them not willing to give an inch. And there was moments in the fight before Bivol, the Beterbiev was going to stop him. Then there were other moments where I thought Beterbiev, at one stage, I thought suddenly he's looking 40 years of age. But in the last round, he gritted his teeth and come back. I mean, they're just amazing fighters, and it was a privilege to be there. And that's up on my list of probably, greatest fights I've seen. Fabulous fight, fabulous fight.
7-5, 8-4 to Bivol. Does that seem fair to you?
What was that again?
Around 7-5 to 8-4 to Bivol. Does that seem fair around that mark?
I don't think 8-4. I don't agree with 8-4. I thought there was a couple of rounds in it. But then that's me looking at. And by the way, so don't be start trolling me and give me all this shit. I don't give a monkeys about it. I'm sitting there like you, like as the fans watching it. I thought it was a close fight. I thought people won it by at least a couple of rounds.
We need to see a trilogy, don't we?
Well, they'll do that, wouldn't they? Of course it does. But again, Beterbiev, he's 40 years of age. These are not young men. He's not a young man, and but what a fight it would be. I mean, I tell you what, they know enough about each other now to always deliver.
Mm. I mean, both their lives have been dedicated to this sport. As Beterbiev got his undisputed moment in the first fight, Bivol in the second. It's just an amazing story. Sort of a life of hard work there, and they're truly realizing like
And you've
their
got to go
dreams
back to
open.
their amateur careers. Go
Yeah,
back to their amateur careers and look at the. I mean, they were at the top of their game as amateurs. I mean, these two guys are consummate professional boxers now. I mean, they are warriors. When they get in that ring, they know what they're doing. They know what they've got to do, and I can't even say it was a chess match because it wasn't. It was like it was like the sort of machoism in it and how they were with each other. I mean, these guys both really fancied that they would win the fight, and both thought they won it the same as they did in the first fight. They both felt they won the respective fights, but it was something special, and we were privileged. Everybody sitting at that ringside was privileged. It was a privilege to watch that on the back of a fantastic fight card with some great fights. Truly, one of the best shows, if not the best show I've seen, certainly in the last 25 years, if not the best ever.
even
Great
outside,
fights.
even outside the ring, those two, Bivol and Beterbiev, exemplary professionals as well. Those two.
They're proper people, and they're proper guys. They don't need the trash talk and all the bullshit. I mean, Beterbiev doesn't say two words at a press conference. It's hard to get anything out of him. And nor does Bivol. They're respectful of each other's fighters, human beings, and that's great. You don't all that trash talk sometimes. I know, like everybody loves all that stuff and whatever, but you don't need it sometimes. You can just sit there and bask in the glory of these two guys' boxing abilities and what they delivered and what they showed, what they were all about. This was pugilism at its best.
Yeah, not a bad first Riyadh season show for 2025 either.
Bloody hell! I mean, I tell you what, it's going to be hard to top that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, but with Riyadh season, they're always trying to strive for better. So
Do you
the
know
second
what?
show this
It's
year,
been a revelation, hasn't it? For the last 18 months now. I mean, it's just been fantastic. It's gone from strength to strength. Just really been a privilege for me to be involved with. It's been a joy, and for the boxing fans, they're getting what they want, which is seeing great fights, and it's livened everybody up everywhere to up their game. It's good.
when we were out in Riyadh, you had obviously a million things going on, but I'm sure you'd have seen you're out the title race practically now.
Shut up your face. I've got to tell you that I was watching that in the dressing room. I was watching the fight in the dressing room, and I was like, "What is going on here?" I mean, it's just awful. It was the most awful performance. I was so, most people thought going into that, you got 3 points in the bag, and I don't know. I don't want to keep saying every season, wait, next season will be it. It's, we want to see it. I've been blessed. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up watching Arsenal, and I started going to the Arsenal when I was like 8 years of age. And they never won anything till 72. I think it was something like, 69. Sorry, the League Cup 76. That was a long time. And I've got grandkids who've never seen them win. They've not seen them win a league title or Premier League title, whatever you want to call it now. And it's I don't know. They got to liven up, and it's really simple. They need a striker.
You've been
They
saying
need a designated striker. We scored all these goals from various players have scored in different positions, but we need a designated striker. That's the difference, in my opinion. See, I'm sounding like one of them trolls now, aren't I? Talking about how you should run a football club and whatever.
weren't you involved with Arsenal for a bit?
Nah.
I know you said you it was it's the one thing you haven't done. That would be, yeah.
I haven't done that. I was chairman of Bedford Rugby Club. We bought them and then we got them up in the first season up into the first division many years ago. That was good fun. But no, I hadn't. I should have done, but I never. For some reason, I never did it.
Okay. Listen, Frank.
I'll leave that to Jim Radcliffe.